Nate Moore here with selfconcept.com, and I have Vincent Blow with me. He is a fellow self-concept coaching level 2 member, and I just had a chat with him. I wanted to and record it and share with you guys because, like I was mentioning on another call, we just have so much wisdom in the group, and I just wanted to, Vincent is a practitioner. He's been practicing the model for how long has it been?
2 years now.
2 years, yeah. He's also a coach, and he's had some quite a bit of therapeutic experience helping other people. So, Vincent, it's nice to have you here.
Thanks, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So, can we start a little bit with and focus in on actually a quality, like right when you got started with the work and started working and studying with Damon, what was one of the first qualities that really stand out of going, wow, this made a difference somehow?
Well, actually, it was the very first quality I installed was financially responsible. That was the very first one I installed.
Interesting.
But I was actually surprised like how quickly it worked. So I had been practicing. So about 5 years ago, my credit was terrible. So so I started listening to like different like financial people be like, okay, I need to make some changes. So I've been practicing the good habits like for a few years at that point. And so then I transformed financially responsible. So by that fall, my credit was about 750. So it went from,
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I went from terrible credit. I mean, I had been working on that before, but like from terrible credit to like 750. So I mean, that was a big change for me.
I've got to ask you. So you're practicing, you're getting these skill sets in place, and then how did the transformation impact how you're practicing the skill sets, or like how did those two interact, if you don't mind me asking?
So yeah. So even practicing the skill sets, I was finding myself just sometimes spending stuff on spending money on stuff that I just didn't need.
Sure.
And so that the transformation kind of like actually I just spontaneously stopped spending money on a lot of stuff that I was spending money on, and I was just like, yeah, and I was like, I wouldn't have done that before. Like here was an example. So like I went into a store and I bought a snack. I mean, I bought like several snacks. And as I was walking to my car, I was like, I don't need these. And I went back and got my money back and went home. And that wasn't something I would have done before.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
And how do you think so if you were, or some of the habits that you were developing, or the systems that you were applying, did any of those become easier to implement? So beyond it was almost like a frugality kicked in or a little bit, or you had a checkpoint of you knew, I don't want to put my own words out there, because it's obviously your experience, but how else has that impacted the other things that you've done, I guess?
Well, in life in general, it's just like I don't spend as much as I was spending before. Like I've been really good at cutting out stuff that I don't need, and also in a way, it's made me less materialistic in a way.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah, as you said that, I started thinking about that. I was like, yeah, because back in the day, I used to always feel like I had to buy the newest or buy this or buy that, and I just don't have any of that anymore.
That's really cool. That's really neat. You were mentioning a few minutes ago, we were talking, and you're mentioning transforming peaceful and kind of some experiences you had at an old job that you used to work at. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So like I was working at a job that I had liked the job at one point, and then it started just turning for the worse, and I was very unhappy there. And actually, that's the day that Damon first announced that. So what we talked about before the video ran is that I've been looking for something that worked on the identity level. Like after, doing some years of NLP training, I didn't see anything that really worked on the identity level. I mean, re-imprinting was close, but so then when Damon first said the webinar, I was like, I have to get this. Like he was talking about the self-concept model. So I called him that day, and then I enrolled in the class, but the class wasn't completed yet. It wasn't even going to be finished for like another month or two. And I was like, I can't wait that long. So I bought the book. And once I got to eliciting counterexamples, I was like, I don't know what the hell Steve is talking about. So I put the book down. I was like, I'm just gonna have to wait for Damon to finish the course. So I went through my first transformation. And then after that, I could understand the book. I was like, okay, now I understand what he's talking about. So then about a year later is when well, actually, Peter and I, we swapped sessions and he transformed peaceful.
Nice.
And I had been wanting to quit my job. So I quit my job about 2.5 months after that quality transformed.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And what was actually interesting is that when we transformed the quality, I was very peaceful for a couple of days. Then I started
Sure.
becoming very antagonistic towards my job. Like I noticed like I was starting to have a lot of anger there. And I was just like, but it was almost like the feed forward system was almost like, you got to get out of here, essentially.
Yeah. What do you think? So, what do you think that means about what peaceful means to you, and how it generalizes, like how, as far as how you were interacting with your work and all those kinds of things.
So, I mean, so what I took that as is that like once we created like peaceful as a quality,
Yeah.
it was almost like you got to get rid of stuff in your life that's not conducive to that. And that was the biggest thing because I've been peaceful ever since I quit May 31st last year. So
Nice.
that was the biggest I think that was the biggest part of it.
Yeah.
This hasn't been my experience, but I know like Peter's had people who have left bad relationships after doing self concept with them
Sure.
because you realize that it doesn't really fit into the new you.
Interesting. Why do you think it works that way? Why do you think we work that way, I guess?
Well, I think with this model, unlike any other model, I mean, you're getting like such a deep change
Yeah.
that 10 years of life experience would probably not create the change that you get just from a transformation. So it's almost
Yeah.
like you're, in a sense, almost becoming a different person. I mean, you're the same person, but you're, these generalizations have a far reaching effect. So it's almost like a
Sure.
lot of other stuff gets changed in between.
Sure. Sure.
Like for me, I know I'll never go back to the 8 to 5 corporate world. Like it's never going to happen.
Absolutely. So, and I've noticed that too. I noticed that when we align our values, and then of course I noticed that for me when I started when I did the values work for the first time with this transformation with transforming my values into qualities, like I are transforming those qualities. I definitely refocused on my life in a new way. Like
Mhm.
it was almost like the first time I really put my priorities in order, the way the way I know they should be, in a way, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Have you noticed anything like that?
Yes, definitely. Because like I noticed for myself some qualities had a mild shift and some had
Yeah,
like the peaceful one was a big one. That
yeah,
was a big shift. The
yeah,
financially responsible one was a pretty big shift.
yeah.
When I did like loved, I did
Oh, nice.
success. Those were actually very mild transformations, believe it or not. That was
Interesting.
yeah. Um,
What do you think the difference is?
I really don't know. I wonder if it's like maybe it's one of those things that like there might be a part of you that already had that to a
Hmm.
degree. So like
Yeah,
maybe it wasn't, or maybe it didn't mean, it didn't make the change that you thought it would make because it's like, oh,
sure,
well, maybe I already had success or, what I mean? Like you kind of
sure.
realize, oh, whereas I think like the ones where like you're missing a quality,
Hmm.
those make a really big difference.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're onto something there. I do know the ones that for me that made the ones that I'm thinking about off the top of my head were ones that I definitely had almost like internal blocks in a way. I don't know how to else to do it. I'm sure there's better ways to articulate it, but
Hmm.
it was almost like um, it was almost like I was acting in a way as if they just weren't there,
Hmm.
and or there was very little of that in my life. But then when I did transform those, it seemed like capable, as an example. Capable was huge for me, and
Interesting.
and I've been I've worked really hard. I've worked hard for a long time, and I in hindsight, I'm like, how did I not ever think I was capable? But as soon as I transformed that, it was like it didn't matter the size of the vision, or it didn't matter I could always start at the appropriate level step in order to move forward towards it, and without in a very calming, peaceful way, because I knew I was capable, as an example. And I didn't expect that one. It was like, it was just kind of like, I'll just do this one. And then all of a sudden, you know, it was like one of those, you can never be the same kind of moments, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, one that's been big, another one that's been big for me, I've noticed it now, is actually productivity. So
Really?
that
Yeah.
one I transformed probably back in August.
Nice.
And I didn't notice a huge change with it at first,
Yeah.
but like I've noticed it's really kicked in when the coronavirus when that kicked off,
Yeah.
because I was going to a lot of networking meetings and stuff like that to promote my practice. But like I was really surprised how productive I've been. Like if this was 2 years ago and this kind of shutdown happened, I probably would have just been wasting a whole lot of time. Like
Interesting.
so, yeah. So I've actually been, in a way, I've actually been more productive than I was when we had regular life. It's interesting.
What do you think that says? So when did you transform productive?
In August.
In August. And you said it really kicked in around now, like just
Yeah, about a month ago. Like some things had changed even when I
yeah.
put it in, but I've noticed like a big, like this is where it was like a huge convincer for me. It was like, oh man, if this was 2 years ago, I probably would have been playing like a lot of video games or doing everything that everything I wasn't
Yeah.
supposed to. But I've lost like 13 pounds since this
Wow.
Corona kicked in.
Yeah.
Like the old me would have just been sitting around getting fat and and not doing anything, you know.
for, for sure. So a transformation months ago, and you're really experiencing that quality now. What do you think
Hmm.
that says about? What do you think that means? You know, as far as you know how generalizations work and how we work.
You know, because so like I've noticed with this model, like especially if you uh unlike a lot of other NLP processes, this
Mm-hmm.
one kind of goes across context, which makes it very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's funny, like I have not even tuned up my productivity base that database since August, and so I found it strange that it just kind of like took effect, uh, like really took effect. I was like, oh wow, like now that everything's shut down, I'm like more productive than people that actually still have to work. It's kind of funny. I've been working more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't. So in terms of what does that mean? Yeah, you know, it's just like I think that these qualities, it just shows the strength of what these qualities can do.
Sure. Sure. Um, Absolutely. And it's probably the it might have something to do with that feed forward system that Steve talks about, right? And that maybe over time there was a compounding impact, and then potentially, then when it really mattered, it was like it had, because of the how I've noticed that the more I am a quality, the better I become at it. If that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes it's the contrast in life I've noticed, like, or the challenges in life that help us really develop qualities in the first place, like and so I wonder if somehow those two things interacting have played a big role in productive, but I haven't done that one. I'm going to definitely do that one.
The one I'm gonna do probably next is gonna be consistency. It's funny because
Nice.
like productivity and consistency to me are like two sides of the different sides of the same coin. Because like
Yeah.
you can be productive but not consistent. You can be consistent and not productive.
Sure. Sure.
And
Sure.
actually, when I first originally installed productivity, I was planning on installing consistency soon after, but then that just I just never did it.
Sure. 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 Well,
But
cool.
I just want to see what the difference is between them. But in a way, I've been kind of being consistent though. But yeah, like I definitely know there's a difference between the two.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I really wanted to see what the difference was. Actually, I got the idea of productivity from Peter because I know his practice really blew up when he
Yeah.
put in productivity.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. And I think he was talking about a few. Speaking of Peter, I think he was talking. I think a few weeks ago about doing consistency, or maybe it was a month ago now, and he seemed pretty excited about what happened. I don't know. I don't know if you talked to him about that, but it's pretty cool, pretty neat.
Well, you know, yeah, I've noticed that with productivity, like I said, I work a lot more than I would have before. But in a way,
Sure.
it doesn't really feel like work though. That's the thing.
Interesting. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Oh, with working with clients, what have you seen? Is there anything that you would like to, you think, you'd like to highlight for the group or anything like that?
Yeah, so I've worked with several people who have very low self-esteem. So transforming lovable into a quality was actually huge for a lot of those people, especially one, their self-concept was I am unlovable. So changing those two,
Wow.
that was a really big change.
Wow.
Um,
I bet.
uh,
What do
I've
you
done
think
a
that's going
lot.
to do? What do you think that's going to do for that person, by the way, like long term?
Oh, a lot, like a whole lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was actually one of the transformations I really wanted to do for somebody. I was like, that right there will probably take care of like 80% of what they had going, this
Sure.
day forward.
Sure, sure, sure. Well,
Well, something else I was going to recommend too. Like, so the
cool.
first year I did the course, I mean, I probably went through it like 10 times that first year. Like, I went through it a lot, and
Good for you.
then I read the book several times too.
Wow.
And so that first year I went through it a lot, and
Hmm.
then before this month, I hadn't
Hmm.
gone through the whole course
Hmm.
since probably last May. So
Hmm.
going through it again, because I've used it on a lot of people now. So going through
Yeah.
it again, I actually picked up little things that I wouldn't have picked up without the practice.
Right. With all that experience. Yeah.
Yeah, because you can. It's such a detailed model that
Hmm.
you can get a lot of it the
Hmm.
first time, but then it's like as you get more practice with it, you come back. It's like, oh, these are things I wouldn't have picked up if I had gone through this training a year ago. Now that I'm seeing some little things.
Absolutely. I hear um, Damon talk about this quite a bit, where he'll say, the more I work with it, the more I realize there is to it, and
Mhm.
the I've also heard him mention, we're talking the other day, and he's like, I haven't got to the end of it yet, as far as like what what's possible with it. And I think that's uh, that to me is very exciting. um, Go ahead, you were gonna say.
Oh, I was gonna say like I have so far only had two people that I just could not do it on at all. Like
Interesting.
that was actually very frustrating, but I guess it's gonna happen.
I wonder what there is to learn from those. Um, on that note, what would you say to somebody who was maybe in the group right now? They're starting to work, and they're like, maybe it just can't, it doesn't work on me. What would you tell that person, and what kind of advice would you give them, um, and all that?
Well, I mean, it definitely works. Like, it's. I would actually say that they might need to find somebody who's gone through it before
Sure.
and do a transformation on them.
Yeah.
Like I did one with well, she posted in the group. Like I did one with Gabby about a month ago, but that one, you
Nice.
know, so like working with someone who's done it before, I think can help a lot.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But
And
I really think. Oh, sorry. Go
no, go
ahead.
ahead. No, no, go ahead.
I really think that like if people knew the true power of the model, they
Hmm.
would do it a lot more because it's just especially with like clients. I mean, it's almost
Yeah,
like I can almost run my entire practice off of just self concept. I mean, if I
yeah, of
I mean I know other stuff too, but it's just
course,
like
yeah.
it's very it's like extremely powerful. I almost feel like this stuff should be in schools and psychology and stuff like that.
I think you're right, and we're not to mention it right now, but we're definitely going to be organizing some actual research at some point here in the future. I think that would be it's a very inspiring idea,
Hmm.
Vincent. I know that the other skill sets too are important, and they definitely support. It's almost like they're very supportive, and those other skills help you with the model itself. At least that's what it seems like to me. Uh,
Have you? Well, I'm assuming you've used it with quite a few people yourself at this point.
I mean, I've got a lot to learn, to be honest. My first I've practiced a lot of different things over my lifetime, because I've always been a firm believer that that we have a ton of potential, and we probably haven't accessed it all. So I was always like digging for it, and I haven't ever found anything that has made this kind of impact on my life, and the little bit of the novice experience that I have had. I mean, I feel like a novice for sure, and it has made a difference for the few people that I've worked with, and like that. But
We know that's actually pretty cool to hear because I kind of did a no-no technically. So the very last quality I transformed was actually fulfillment. That's been the last one I transformed, but like
yeah,
that was like, oh, we weren't supposed to transform that. I was surprised that one actually had a big shift. It
interesting.
was, but I had already transformed, many other qualities before that one, but I was surprised that one had a shift.
And that's fascinating. Yeah, we've got a ton to we still have a ton to learn about how the identity works, and how we organize generalizations.
I was just thinking about something else came to me. I would still recommend to people only doing what Damon said, as far as only doing like a transformation once or twice, like waiting a week or 2 weeks between a transformation, because just one transformation can have such a huge impact that you don't. In a way, it goes that the whole law of diminishing returns kicks in if you start transforming like 5 a week, because then you're not going to know what did what.
Absolutely. I do know that one of the things that I'll do is I'll do a transformation, and then I'll look for tune-ups in between and things like that. And
Yeah, that's fine. I think that's fine. Like doing the tune-ups on stuff you've already transformed, I think is fine. But it's like because like the original stuff you may have wanted to transform may have already been taken care of by the transformation. So it's almost like you might be doing double work on top of that.
totally,
So you
absolutely.
really want to see what has changed, and then it's like, okay, so let it simmer for a week or two, and then see like, okay, now this has come up, so now we can deal with this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's great. And if you have any other advice for the people that are getting started with the model and they're practicing and like any skill, right? It takes a little time and effort. Do you have any advice for those people?
Definitely staying with it, asking questions. I know I asked Damon a lot of questions that first year,
Yeah,
the first couple of months that he dropped it, and the coaching calls are really important, especially like when you don't know the model. Like you really gotta do it, and I'd even recommend getting practice partners.
sure. Great.
When I started, I didn't really have practice partners, so I just did it on myself, like constantly. But like y'all have a lot more people in the group now than that were in there when I first started.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they also have the advantage now, they can ask people like Peter,
Right.
Antoine, other people, because when I joined the group, the only one who knew it was Damon. No one else in the group knew it. So
True.
but
Yeah.
now they have other like Kat, they have other people like that who really know the model as well.
Yeah. Well, right on. Well, hey, Vincent, thanks so much for taking the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll see you in the group. Okay.
Yeah, man. Take care.